Frankie Kazarian, Scorpio Sky, Christopher Daniels, collectively known as SoCal Uncensored or SCU. And I regret telling this asshole that I would plug his show.
That's because the name of the show is Wrestling with Regret, and it's for all y'all suckers.
And it is the worst YouTube show I've ever been on.
Over the last 9 months, WWE fans have witnessed the rapid ascent of one of the company's biggest, best-received stars in years, Becky Lynch, the man himself, herself. Breaking out in the main roster in 2015, Lynch spent years as a smiling, happy-go-lucky face with an iron will and perseverant attitude. The Irish lass kicker made history by becoming the first SmackDown Women's Champion early in the second brand split, but seemed to get lost in the shuffle after losing it to Alexa Bliss. That perception changed permanently at last year's SummerSlam when, after losing a triple threat match to Charlotte Flair for the blue belt, Becky snapped and beat the hell out of Ms. Flair to the jubilation of the crowd. Paired with a huge change in demeanor, it was meant to be a full-on heel turn, but it was never accepted by the fans, as Lynch's character had what some would call a legitimate gripe about being constantly overlooked despite her hard work. The fans ate it up, no matter how much of a baddie Becky was booked to be.
I don't like myself. I love myself.
Ever since SummerSlam, this most recent chapter in her career has been defined by some amazing moments. A terrific last woman standing match at Evolution, standing tall in the crowd after invading Raw and beating up Ronda Rousey, winning the Women's Royal Rumble, and pinning Rousey at WrestleMania in the main event to become a dual champion. Though the storytelling between the Rumble and WrestleMania got a little ridiculous at times, it's clear that Becky's finally getting the recognition she deserves. And what was the reason for this surge in momentum? What was the catalyst for this unprecedented focus on one of the most popular females in company history? Why, the Marine Six, of course. No, seriously. See, after Survivor Series 2017, Lynch took the rest of the year off to film the latest entry in The Miz's greatest cinematic legacy, The Marine 6, Close Quarters, which came out late 2018. In the film, Becky plays the lead villain, a gang leader named Maddie Hayes, whose demeanor and mannerisms bear a resemblance to the character she portrays today on Raw and SmackDown. But if getting into character on set wasn't enough of inspiration, she also got some career-changing advice from her Hall of Fame co-star Shawn Michaels. In an interview with TV Insider from this past October, Becky said, quote, "Things weren't going as well as they are now before I left to shoot. I remember him giving me advice saying, when you go back, go in as a different person. Hold your head a little bit higher. Have that attitude that you're a top star. Go with it. I think this is what I've been trying to do since I came back." End quote. So there you have it. The Marine 6 is officially the most influential film for wrestling in 2018 because it gave birth to the man we see today. Let's see if it's any good. The film begins on a scene with our old friend Jake Carter having a good old-fashioned MMA session with his friend and former commanding officer Luke Trapper, played by H.B. Shizzle. Whoa, wait, shut up. Chuck Norris edited this film and country star Luke Bryan was director of photography? Now we're talking. Oh wait, never mind. Upon further research, it seems that those are just two other guys with the same names as the celebrities. Well, that's still cool too, I guess. I mean, one time back in college, I worked at a gas station and my boss's name was actually Vince McMahon. True story. Anyway, Luke Trapper, who has the exact same name structure as the other star of this movie, works for the VA now that he's no longer actively serving. His job in this film is to provide context to he and Jake's past.
I was your CEO. We did 2 tours together. Hell, I took a bullet for you. Ramadi, 06. I had that guy. The hell you did. Remember Helmand? 09.
No more stories, Luke. We don't have time.
I know the story was later debunked and all, but if it was true that Shawn was beat up by Marines back in 1995, this would have been an awkward casting choice for him, would it not? This establishing shot shows the film takes place in my hometown of Portland, Oregon. Not gonna lie, I kinda wanted to see a crossover with Russell Madness in this movie.
We are family, and family is a verb.
Unbelievable.
And in case you're wondering, there's not one hipster joke in the entire film. I applaud you for your restraint, movie. It's established in some off-screen radio talk that a crime family boss named Horace Hayes is on trial, but that hung juries in the past have let him walk free. Meanwhile, in a park that was clearly named at the last minute, we see a young girl going on a run, when suddenly... Here's Maddie Hayes, Horace's daughter, who's trying to kidnap the girl. We also see Maddie's brother, who looks like Baron Corbin's final form. Now, based on her outfit, this girl seems to be a member of a cross-country or track team, so you'd think that she'd have no problem outrunning these goons. But need I remind you, this is a movie, and she is a white woman in a scary situation. We learn that the girl, whose name is Sarah, is actually the daughter of one of the jurors in the Hayes trial. The father is told to render a not guilty verdict to force a mistrial, or his daughter will be killed. Boy, the one time you can't get out of jury duty, am I right? Meanwhile, Carter and Trapper go on a field trip. Luke wants Jake's help in trying to convince a Vietnam vet to stop squatting in an abandoned brewery out of town, as the veteran's son has served with Jake in the Middle East. The brewery, which again, totally named at the last minute, has a douchey landlord named Graham, who speaks in an accent I absolutely cannot figure out.
You're late. I've been waiting out here for an hour. Huh? Terrible. That's what I'm doing. That's not help, but hell, better to have one and not need it than not to have one. No, it's not but the trouble. We clear them out to come back, like a pack of strays.
Anyway, Graham has a gun now and is super jazzed about it, much to the chagrin of the Marines he's with. As you might expect, Graham doesn't know the first thing about combat or proper weapon usage, as he just can't wait to whip out his piece on somebody.
Easy there, Rambo. It's a raccoon.
Well, if you can't afford Batista for these movies, you might as well get his Guardians co-star. After making some impassioned pleas, the grizzled vet they came to talk to refuses to budge. The gang hears some noise upstairs and they go to check it out. Well, what are the odds that all these guys would be in the same building? What is this, a movie or something?
Owen, would you look at that? Both of you are soldiers. How cute.
Marines.
Marines!
We are evil. An unsuspecting Graham walks into the scene and pulls his gun out again like a doof. Becky wishes him well in his future endeavors in the afterlife, and in the chaos, Jake and Luke grab Sarah and hold themselves up in the room next door.
They're gonna kill us.
No, they're not. We're not gonna let that happen, are we, Luke?
No, probably not.
Just when I'm beginning to wonder why the baddies don't just shoot the door down, Maddie explains in pretty clear terms they have to keep the girl alive before the verdict, which is going to happen any moment now as conflicted juror is conflicted. More of the Hayes goons arrive at the building as our two heroes think of an escape plan. A rescue mission taking place in an enclosed, multi-level area with tons of armed gang members everywhere? Where have I seen this before? Luke finds a way out of the room and a fight ensues with the baddies. Then they try to make an emergency call with the phones they pick up.
He must have blocked it.
Mine too.
Don't let this happen to you. Sign up with Cricket Wireless today. As the woman who plays Sarah fights to keep her accent tamped down, she explains to the boys they can't just fight their way through everything.
We can't just go charging out there like Leroy Jenkins. We need a plan.
Leroy who?
I'm pretty sure there's no way a teenage girl in 2018 makes that reference. The gang has to go down a long chute in the grain room in order to make their way out. Jake goes first, followed by Sarah, who admittedly lasts a hell of a lot longer than I ever could in that situation, before terror happens.
Jake! We're good!
I slipped.
You think?
You see that? They're in real close quarters now, huh? Yeah, just like, name of the movie? Marine 6? Close quarters? You get it, you get it. As Jake and Sarah make their way to the bottom, the bad guys catch up and start lobbing sacks of grain down onto the heartbreak Luke. For some reason, I find this facial expression was one of the best things Shawn did all movie. By the way, how would the other bags not have fallen directly onto him, crushing him from behind as well? I'm no scientist, but I'm pretty sure that's how physics works. And also, should he be lucky that getting impaled after falling from that height is the worst that happened to him?
You should have caught me.
I didn't have time.
You caught her.
Wait, hold on. What did Jake say?
You should have caught me.
I didn't have time.
He didn't have time to catch him? What do you mean? From when he first hears Luke screaming to when he exits the chute, Jake had about 9 seconds of screen time to respond and get ready. Captain America over here with his superhuman instincts didn't think 9 seconds was long enough? Do you know how long 9 seconds is?
Come on. Come on. Open up. Yeah. Huh. It's Luke. I got you, Luke. I got you, Luke.
Oh, wonder who that is. Oh! Oh, great! Now I've been impaled! Anyway, the sexy boy miraculously survives after pulling the bar out of his own torso and is in good enough shape to get into and win another brawl with even more guys.
Stop screaming!
They run into the veteran from earlier who answers their plea for help. With Lukeski bleeding out, they decide to cauterize the wound by lighting gunpowder on it. You know, when we say we want to see pyro back in WWE, this is not what we had in mind. The vet tells them there's a series of underground tunnels that lead to freedom. As they get ready for their escape, Trapper turns dapper with a hilariously ironic t-shirt.
Don't let me die in this thing.
It's now time for our first real gunfight of the movie as our heroes fight their way out of the building. The bullets fly as they try to open the tunnel entrance, and it ends in spectacular video game fashion. Guess the writers missed that episode of Mythbusters.
Same gun bond used, same distance.
The old man dies in the battle and gets a dramatic hero's treatment. Jake and Luke walk past some cool CGI fire before they make their way into the tunnels, which get a bit of Portland flavor.
So what do they call these things again?
Shanghai tunnels, they're a big deal. I did a paper on them for my AP Lit class. They used to do tours and stuff.
It's a nice local reference, except for the fact that this particular brewery seems to be miles away from downtown, where the tunnels actually are. Come at the king, you best not miss. As they try and navigate through the maze of tunnels, they encounter the only other female gang member, a woman named Kat. We've seen her in the periphery in a lot of scenes, and she's also been keeping an eye on Juror Dad at the courthouse. Wait, that reminds me, what has Maddie been doing this entire time? Well, mostly she's been just yelling at her men and giving instructions. Not really active this part of the story, but you know she's pulling the strings. You know, final boss stuff. Anyway, Kat convinces the three amigos she's not part of the gang and pretends to lead them to safety, but the facade falls through fairly quickly.
I thought you didn't have a phone.
Yeah, I was lying about that, actually.
Alright, how could she possibly get service down there? Last week I worked a show at a high school gym. I was in the locker room and couldn't get shit. Sounds like you need coverage from Cricket. Piss off! We then get a big old knocky-draggy as Luke fights with Kat, Miz takes on Big Brother, and Maddie takes back Sarah. After they do the good guy thing one more time, Luke and Jake find themselves pinned down once again. In the battle, Jake is hit, and in what could be his final stand, now it's his turn to tell a war story.
You took 2 bullets in the gut, covering my retreat. I was your CO.
Hey, keep it down, we're having a moment over here! Jake finally makes things even between he and Luke as he sacrifices himself to allow his friend to escape.
Goodbye, Marie.
Whoa, he's dead? They really did that? They really killed off their lead role, Jake Carter? I don't know how to feel about that, man. I mean, like, God, I've been so invested in this character now after 4 films. It's a pretty bold move to do that, but wow, he's really dead. Can I get some tribute music, please? Sorry, stop the music, please. Sorry, I wish I could play it longer, but you know, I'm trying to keep this video monetized. Luke is able to escape and kills a couple more dudes to the tune of some bad Terminator knockoff. And catches up to Maddie the baddie, who's got Sarah on her sleek black boat. The tampered juror forces a mistrial, and it's time to tie up some loose ends. Trapper makes one last desperate attempt to save the girl. With those knees? Bro. At last we have a final confrontation between Maddie Lynch and HB Luke. The visual alone will no doubt get people rushing to the comment section in a tizzy. Becky, no belts just yet, is able to pull off a headlock takeover and a Hurricane Rana, but ultimately our hero recalls something he learned all the way back in the opening credits. We get an amazing visual representation of what the booking must have felt like for Becky for much of this year's WrestleMania build, and finally Maddie has been vanquished. Sarah and her father are reunited, and we learn that Baddie Maddie's daddy won't be a free man for long.
Does he just walk?
Oh, I wouldn't worry about that. I think they got a whole slew of new charges for him.
That is the wrong accent for this coast. Luke gets one final goodbye with Jake as we get a real deep emotional moment, right before a weirdly edited tribute montage for Miz's character that feels like it was slapped on 5 minutes before deadline. Yeah, remember when he talked to that guy, or got shot at by the other guy, or that one guy looked at him? Those are some good times. Anyway, that's the movie. So there you have it, the Marine 6 Close Quarters, the end of Jake Carter and quite possibly the end of the Marine franchise itself. And I know I make fun and all, but if I'm being honest, I think this one is the strongest of the bunch. One thing that helps this film out immensely is that a lot of the key players behind the scenes from the previous Marine movie are here as well. It was the second movie in a row directed by James Nunn, the second one filmed by Luke Bryant, and the fourth movie in a row in which Michael Luisi was the producer. Consistency in your staff makes any film sequel a strong one. Second, and equally important, is Shawn Michaels' role as Trapper. I don't know why it took them so long to give Jake Carter someone he could really play off of. Every Marine movie up to this point has been a one-man run and gun, a rescue or escort mission of some type. The hostage or target or whatever is usually just in the way and the star has to carry the load on his own. Marine 6 retains the basic story structure as the earlier ones, but here Jake finally has a partner, an equal he can work with. Shawn and Miz have a pretty good chemistry and they have enough banter together without getting too playful, and it keeps the movie going along. It just makes the characters more relatable. As far as Becky Lynch's performance as the lead villain, while it wasn't amazing, you definitely saw a side to her in this movie that simply wasn't there before her big character shift last summer, sort of a prototypical version of what she'd become on television. In terms of dialogue and significance to the story, she certainly did better than what Summer Rae, Naomi, and Maurice got in previous installments. Her character feels like she's all over the place, in the literal sense that is, always showing up just after the big conflict, but compared to the other main bosses from films past, she's definitely represented well. Like its predecessors, it's not a movie that's going to make you stop and think about the meaning of life or anything, but it's still a suspenseful and enjoyable action romp that ends up being a good send-off for the main character. Now I suppose this begs the question, does this mean the end of the Marine series? Well, not necessarily. Remember, The Miz himself was the third leading man in the saga after John Cena and Ted DiBiase, so it's possible a fourth could come as well. What if Luke Trapper himself took up the mantle? I mean, he showed in this movie he could definitely handle himself in the thick of action. Maybe make a new story arc about the old grizzled vet hanging with the younger terrorists. I can see it now. Oh, he's going gray. His eye is droopy. He wears a shirt that is for a grandma. He got impaled, but he's okay though. He's the new face of this film franchise. He's just an old Marine, not quite a sex machine. He's just an old Marine, His head's now squeaky clean. Oh, or I know, maybe there's going to be an open audition for the lead role. On second thought, maybe we should just let the series end gracefully.